I forgot that this was in, and I was just about to go live, and I looked at the picture and I thought, oh my gosh, I can't wait. I'm supposed to be a professional. I can't go on talking like this. And then I thought, why not? Why can't I still do what I do and say what I need to say and look funny and stupid and crazy because I was having fun with my children? You know, we get really stuck. I remember when I first started being a life coach, I dressed really professionally, right? I had a dress shirt and I had dress pants, and I was always, hey, Kristen, I was always really, hey, Virginia, I was always really professional, right? Because I had to look the part, and I thought that if I looked it, I would be it more. And yeah, I realized it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because, you know, the people that work with me seem to get results that they need, and it works, and I don't have to play the part necessarily anymore, except when I'm speaking in front of people. I would never go speaking in front of people looking like this. Hey, Amy. But I did want to talk today about enemies. And I think it's a really appropriate day to talk about this because this morning, Bear said I could pass for a ninja. Hey, Kenzie. Yes. So for all of you joining, my hair is like this because my daughters were having fun. And then I was going to hop on Facebook Live to share something, and I realized I look like this. And I thought I'm going to challenge myself today and show up looking this way because why not? Life's too short. Hey, Christine. So I'm talking about enemies today. And I think it's a really important day, Martin Luther King Day, to talk about that because he obviously had a lot of enemies. And I was explaining to my girls this morning who don't know anything about racism, about Dr. King and what he did. And thanks, Kenzie. Yeah, my girls were having some fun. And so Dr. King did so many amazing things, and he had a lot of enemies. And I was reading this article. My brother-in-law sent me an article today from the New Yorker, kind of anti-self-help, right? It was don't fall into helping yourself. Don't get into the trap of improving yourself to death. And this is what I do, right? I mean, I've improved myself and consciously, hey, Sarah. Hey, Stephen. And I constantly, Stefan, good to see you. I've consciously improved myself for years, and the work that I do with people is personal development. But it's really funny to hear, they were talking all about The Secret and all about The Art of Not Giving a Fuck, that book, which is a really interesting sort of self-help, but it still is self-help. Hey, Janice. And hey, Jessica. Good morning. So, all this like anti-self-help movement and just be who you are and don't give a fuck and all of this stuff. But it's still self-help. And even the New Yorker was making the self-help industry a bit of the enemy. Now, here's where I have a problem with this. I get what they're saying. Hey, Carol, I get that in life, we actually all have enemies. Now, you could refute this point. You could, I'd love to hear your comments if you think that you do not have enemies, but we all have enemies. Even the most spiritual gurus that I know, or that I've read, rather, may not know. I only know a few true, real, enlightened people. But even then, there's always maybe enemy is a strong word, but it's always the other side. Even for the most spiritual, and then I'll sort of cone it down and filter it down. The most spiritual, the enemy is materialism. The enemy is walking around unaware, unawakened, not being present. That's the enemy, right? And that's the most spiritual person. That is sort of the enemy, because you want to turn your back on that. Then you get to the enemy, which is someone in your family, your partner, someone who did something to you at work, someone who cut you off, and all of a sudden they are the enemy. And you're picking people to go against you so you can either hold aside so strongly or be right. And I get it, right? So I guess in a sense, we all do have enemies, because you're always against something. But here's the deal. I think we have to consciously pick and choose our enemies and not do it unconsciously. Not have an enemy just because that's the story that we've held on to so much. So, this person did this to me, and because of that, I am the way that I am. Because here's where I see, people go in therapy for years and get so stuck in their story because they know it and they repeat it so well, right? And if anyone who's listening or will listen after, you know it so well, but then what? What do you do with that? Once you have that enemy and you have painted that picture and that person has wronged you and you are someone from Salem was calling, maybe it's the witch hunt. Oh my goodness, I'm losing my mind. So, now that you've made that lifelong enemy, now you're the victim. And now you repeat that story, and now you go through life saying things to yourself that corroborate that story, that back up and give research to, so you can now gather all the information, and then you harness that information in a way of you're right, somebody else is wrong. And now you've created such a crystallized, defined story. Thank you, Sean. That where do you go? Now you're searching to help yourself, right? Now you're in the self-help because now you have an enemy. Now you have to make yourself better. So I'm gonna drop a bomb on you today. If that happens, and if because of your enemy, you improve yourself or make yourself better, are they really an enemy in the big picture? Or have they played a role, played their part to help you grow, to help give you an experience that you can, yes, maybe be hurt by, but come out of, evolve from, help others potentially grow? It's all in how we view it. It's all perspective. Thanks, Lon. So, before we make enemies so wrong, because when I read this article, I was agreeing with some of the author who wrote the article in the New Yorker. I was agreeing with some of it. It's like, yeah, this is a $10 billion a year industry that I participate in, right? And I like many of the things that I read, and I'm always reading and taking bits and pieces that I like, and what doesn't resonate, I don't take. But there seems to be this culture of when is enough enough and when is too much too much. When do you improve yourself to the point that it's just too much? I think you know that point. I think if you start to become narcissistic, I think if you start to become so closed-minded that your way is the only way, and you become this self-help person who, thinks that your way is better than anyone else's, then yeah, that's probably going the opposite direction than where you want to go. But why is this a $10 billion industry? Right? We have to think, is it just because of fakes and charlatans that this exists? I don't think so. I think as human beings, we are designed to grow and evolve. And this last generation, I would say, the last 25, 30 years, even more than that, but really the last 25 years has been this quantum leap in meditation, yoga, movement, all sorts of spiritual study. I mean, last time I was researching this exact figure, it was 2 years ago, and it said something like under 30, so I guess millennials, 25 or 39%, I can't remember the exact number, but still, whether it was 25 or 39, identified as spiritual but not religious. That alone, and I'm not preaching here politically one way or another, about religion versus non-religion, but that alone informs so much of where we're at. So this industry exists for a reason, is because we want to better ourselves. And chances are what we're doing in our lives, hey Jordan, what we're doing in our lives, yes, I have this hair. My daughters were having fun with me this morning, and I decided to challenge myself and go on here and be a professional looking like this, talking about something that, could actually maybe move the needle for some people today. Go figure. Get the message, not the messenger, okay? But this is where we're at. I believe that we all want to better ourselves, and the way that we're doing it, if we go about it left to our own patterns and devices, isn't working. Or at least it's not working as well as most of us would like. Therefore, we seek out a book. Or when, I love when this happens. Do you guys ever get this? Give me a thumbs up or an emoji of some sort if you don't know about something at all, but then all of a sudden you need that book, or you need that teacher, or you need that someone, and someone mentions it, or you read about it, and then 2 days later you hear something else about it. And then another time someone tells you something until you say, I've heard that a couple times, I'm gonna go get that book, or I'm gonna go see that film. Right? We get the messages when we need them, but sometimes it requires us to seek them out, to look at what's my next step? What do I need? And yes, the anti-self-help writers are going to say, don't seek, just be fine where you're at and be fine with mediocrity. Once you can accept that you're not always going to be great and you're not always going to be perfect, then you can feel better. Okay, try it. Accept that. That's not going to stop your hunger. And it's not going to satiate that yearning to learn, that yearning to grow. I've tried this. And it made me feel better temporarily. For a little bit. And then it wore off. Why? Because I fell back to my own default and my own pattern. And that was evolve more. And I'm not always a big fan of more, right? More isn't always better. But look in your life, right? More. If you're in the more roller coaster, it's probably causing some pain and some struggle. But let me ask you this. Where in your life is more appropriate? When is it acceptable? When is it right on to where you say, yes? Not only is it okay to have more of that, but I will be a better person. I will be a better partner. I will be a better father, mother, sister, brother, child, parent, boss, coworker, employee. Will this make me better? And use that as your coffee filter. And if you get some drips that drip through of yes, it will make me better, and that's the liquid that you're getting in your cup, why not do it? Why not? Because inherently, I believe that you want to be better. And that's why we seek out self-help. We seek out personal development. We seek out something, anything that's going to help not only feel better, but act better, right? We all hear, have more gratitude. Be grateful. Just be grateful. Be grateful. Be grateful. Right? I mean, you could hear that ad nauseum. Be grateful. Are you being grateful on a moment-to-moment basis? Chances are, no. Let's take a poll. You guys write down how many times a day you actually pause and say, I am so grateful for him or her. I am so grateful for the life that I'm living, or I'm so grateful for the apartment or the house I have. I'm so grateful for the friends in my life. I'm so grateful for the money that I have, even if it's not as much as you want. I'm so grateful for the job I have, even if it's, you want a different job in a couple years. I'm curious because if you're grateful on a moment-to-moment basis, then that means you're present on a moment-to-moment basis because you're present enough to feel grateful. But then chances are, too, you're probably not being present on a moment-to-moment basis. And don't feel bad because I'm not either, right? I don't know. I think people are on the spectrum of presence, but yeah, I don't think people are always fully present in their lives. So there's no perfection here. But I think with technology speeding up the way that it is, and we can make that the enemy, right? Technology, the world's speeding up, it's fast, we're so distracted. That's the enemy. So if that helps you to put the phone down a little bit more, maybe make that your enemy. But what if, just what if, you pick and choose your enemies consciously? I said to myself I wasn't going to teach on here. Hey, Courtney. But the one thing I will say is please be careful who you make the enemy. Because if someone else is the enemy and you know that we have no control over other people, if someone else is the enemy, then we're stuck. We're screwed. Because someone is doing something to us and we have no control over that, and you lose all empowerment and you get into a space of defeat, you get into a space of victimization, and it's not a good place. Another subtle one is making yourself the enemy. Because if you're putting other people as the enemy and people are doing things to you, in a way you're making yourself the enemy. Or if you're repeating a pattern that says, a belief that says that I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, or I'm not meant to do this or have this, or I can't get any better, or any of the old tapes that play in your head, you're the enemy. It's not the person who told that to you when you were 4 and you believed it, and that's past, right? We're in the present. I understand that hurts, and I understand that sucks, and we all have that to a degree in some form or another. But if you're repeating that, if you're empowering that, you are the enemy. You're the enemy of the state. Do you see what I mean? And you cannot accomplish what you want to accomplish in your life, and you can't be who you want to be. And I know this because I see it day in and day out. I work with people in my groups in this. I work with people one-on-one on this. I speak to crowds about this. You're holding yourself back. So you are the enemy. Right? If you're lacking confidence, it's not anyone else that's making you lack confidence. It's you. It's the way that you're viewing yourself. Therefore, you are the enemy. So be careful who you make the enemy. But I'd say more than be careful. If we all have an enemy, and this is how I started this conversation, if we all make enemies, and I told you, even the most spiritual people, to a degree, as loving as they are, they're still an enemy of sorts. right? We live in a world of duality. We live in a world of polarity. So this is why this exists. And oftentimes, moving away from one polarity, like a magnet, pushes us in the other direction. So there is a reason for this. And I'm not making, enemy bad. But what I'm saying is pick the enemy wisely. And if the enemy is yourself, then maybe you want to become aware of how big of an enemy you're making yourself, because maybe if you turn that enemy into a friend, into an ally, into someone that you're grateful for and someone that you appreciate, perhaps you would go propelled in the other direction, which is probably the direction that you want to go. Is this landing for anyone? Is all this making sense? Give me some thumbs up or emojis, because it's silent. It's stagnant. Okay. I see some thumbs up floating by. Great. So today, I'm going to go shower and get dressed for my workday. Who's your enemy? Because you have them. So who have you made the enemy? And if you have made them the enemy, do you want them to remain your enemy? Be careful who you make is your enemy, because you're fighting against that person. Right? If you're the enemy, you're fighting against yourself. And I don't think we want that. So, make something else the enemy, right? Make distractions the enemy. Hey, Mark, make distractions the enemy. If you get distracted from the truth of who you are, and hopefully you have enlisted me as your messenger today to give you this message that you need. I'm guessing if you're here and you're listening, no matter if you're listening to this after the fact, there's a reason why you're hearing this. And the reason is you need the message. Make distractions your enemy instead of yourself, instead of, I can't do this, or I can never follow through, or blah, blah, blah. Find a way to follow through. Find someone to help you do it. If you get distracted too much by your phone or the abyss of scrolling, put your phone down. Make your phone the enemy. I love you, but I hate you, and I'm going to put you down. And put your phone in the corner for an hour and go be present. And then do some of the work that you need to do by being present in the world. That's going to take you much farther. Okay? All right, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.